Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you just for another talk. You know how I am. Always trying to educate the people just about mental health, substance abuse, and just behavioralism at its finest. This hat is not representative of anybody because I'm not a supporter of people. I'm not a supporter of politics. What I am a supporter of is even. And whenever I say even, that's all I care about is staying even. And so with that being said, I'm gonna have the hat in different colors, but hey, listen, I love red. That's just what it is. Everything on my website is red. So it is what it is. So, but I want to talk to you guys about what's really going on. So a lot of people have emotions, and I get it. Everybody has emotions from whatever side of the picture you have. Even if you're not part of the situation, if you don't even have an opinion about it, you still got some emotion. You can't watch TV and you can't live in this world without seeing that there is a problem of some sort, whatever level it is. But I've been watching, and the thing that I want to talk to you guys today is about people keep on wondering why people are angry. All right, so I'm going to explain this as quickly as I can so that you guys can understand the basis for anger. All right, so let's talk about the first thing. Okay, so this all started pretty much as we go like a month ago in Georgia. In Georgia, there were some guys that were, I guess one of them used to be work for the policing system, and then ultimately he went and shot somebody in the streets. Okay, so then you have that situation. That guy wasn't charged with anything probably for 2 months. Okay. Then you have this George incident that the police officer, when he is charged, he's charged with maybe a manslaughter and like a third degree. Third degree is almost kind of like you just say oops, like your mind is on something else at the time and you can't really understand what you're doing pretty much. But they are finding you at fault, but it's kind of like at fault, but just kind of by accident. Okay, so let's talk about that. All right, just those two situations and why this is being so brought up so difficultly. So this is the problem. So I have clients who get caught doing something. Let's say you go into someone's house and you steal something, okay? So as soon as you go in there and you break in, they are going to slap about 7-8 charges on you. Okay, they're going to take those charges and they're going to stack them up high. All right, and so what that does is that automatically gets you, they try to get you to go to jail for that. Okay, and wait till your trial. All right, so hopefully if you have some money, then you're able to pay, then you get back out and then you fight it from the outside. Well, most people, they are going to have a really high bond, and so with that high bond, they're not able to meet that bond. So what happens is if they had a job, that job is gone. And then if that job is gone, then you have a family or situations where people need you to be free. And so what happens is when they stack all these charges up against you, then you go to try to get you a real lawyer, a really good lawyer that will fight for you, that they're paid to fight for you. So whenever you do that, then they are going to throw some absurd number at you, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending on how many charges you got or what's going on in your life. So now you can't afford that. So what happens? You go get your public defender. When you go get you a public defender, with that public defender, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything wrong with public defenders, but we know that most of those cases end up in a plea bargain. So what ends up happening is you go in and you do something, whatever it is, silly or whatever, at whatever age you are, and then they throw all of these charges at you, felonies, some misdemeanors, whatever it is. So then what happens is at the end of all of this, you go to court and then they plea out. So they say, okay, we're going to take this one out, we're going to take this one out, but they're going to stick somewhere in here in a place where you ultimately can't really fight it fight it, and you wish you could, because your public defender won't really fight that hard for you. But then, if you had a really good lawyer, you could probably get even that one thrown out or take a lesser one. So the problem is whenever you look at this across the board, across the United States, you have a whole lot of people who are young kids. I remember I was young when I first got my first charge. I got my first charge when I was 18. So at that point, if I probably had a good lawyer, if I had all of that, I probably could have got all of that thrown out. I got most of the stuff thrown out, but I had to take a small case. But the thing about it is that case has followed me all my life. And when I say followed me all my life, now I even went for a job for the director of it was for rehabilitation for juveniles. And I went in for the interview. They loved me. They even started showing me where my desk was going to be. They sent me a paperwork that asked me about my record. I told them everything about it. I said, this happened when I was 18. I got off of probation later on when I was in my 20s. I said I only got my master's. I got two masters, one in education, one in clinical. And then all of a sudden, then they sent me another question, and then they asked me this question. They said, have you ever done drugs? And they had a whole list of drugs. Like, they had every list of drugs across the top. But then it didn't just ask me whether or not I had used them. It said, had I ever sold them? Have I ever been in the... And so it got to the point where I'm an honest person, so I'm just going to tell people the truth. So I just said, listen, man, I'm not putting all this, man. I've done a lot of drugs. I've sold a lot of drugs. I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of. And all of that was prior to me being 25, 26. I'm 40 years old now. I haven't been involved in any of that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is I'm trying to rehabilitate your children in the juvenile system in Maryland. And it was told to me, well, first of all, they never responded back to that. I had to keep calling and keep calling and keep calling. And finally, the guy that answered told me that I was no longer a candidate because I had a criminal background. And I asked him this. I said, you were telling me that you were hiring somebody to help people, help juveniles rehabilitate themselves in order to live and to live a successful life. I went through the system, came out the system, and I'm doing really well. And you're telling me that I'm still not qualified for your position? And he was like, no, we just can't do it. So now look at that. It was a charge when I was 18 years old that ended up, when I got a public defender, that ended up staying on my record, that got me out of a job when I'm 40. Well, which is good, because then I started my own business, and this is where I'm at. So God is good at all times. But let me be very frank. These officers are these people that are being charged. They're being charged with a 3rd degree and a misdemeanor. Manslaughter. So tell me this. Why, whenever we are the little people out here, and every time we get in trouble, you give us 12 charges for little minor things, and then we have to fight them off. And then when people get charges, they get something, they only get 1 charge, or they might get 2 charges. But if they don't, and let's say they charge them incorrectly, and let's say they're able to fight that one particular charge, then they're off, period. And so what's happened is we've noticed that every time someone gets charged, they only get charged 1 or 2 things, but then they end up getting off of whatever that charge was because it was incorrect. So the system that we're talking about charges people that ultimately have no way to fight. They charge them tons of stuff, but then they go back and they take something of this magnitude and they only give them 1 or 2 charges. Something's not right. And that's the reason why people are angry. I'm not saying, and I'm not justifying what they're doing. Absolutely. Robbing, all of that stuff, that's just intolerable. But the one thing that I will say is that there's a system and the system is broken. And if the system's not broken, we've done it peacefully. People have talked about it. And I'm not talking about a black and white thing, because I know white people that get charged that way. I know Hispanic people. I know people that get charged that way, but they're all the people that are at the bottom. And if you look at that TV screen, when you see looting, it's not all black people. There's white people, there's Hispanic people, there's all types of cultures all fighting, and they're all doing these things. But the thing about it is, we as intelligent people, we have to plow in front of them so that they don't have to act ignorant. But the problem is that we haven't been out there speaking, and we haven't been going into those rooms, and we haven't been going for elections so that those people don't have to act a fool out there. And that's what I'm calling you to do, is that if you're going to be in this and you're going to look at this for what it really is, it's time for you to stand up. And that's the reason why I made this hat. Because if you're going to make it great, make your city great, and make your neighborhood great, make your county great, make your state great, and even make your nation great. It's not about red, it's not about blue, it's not about any of that. We need to make it great without hate. That's all that matters. That's period. It's hate on whatever level you want to look at it. You want to look at it economically. You want to look at it with racism. Whatever you want to look at, just take the hate out of it, and we will be a successful nation. And that's what I'm standing on, and that's what I'm talking about. So if you want to join in with me on this movement of making everything great, but just take the hate. And that's what the Cadillac Counselor is about. And that's what I will always stand on. So I thank you guys for tuning in. Check out my YouTube, like it, comment. I love to hear everything that you guys are saying, because that's the stuff that makes this thing, that's what makes it beautiful. So stay with me. Follow me every day. I am here for you guys. And if they don't think this is about mental health and substance abuse, man, you are missing the target. Why do you think people do drugs? Why do you think these kids are using drugs at the age of 12 and 13? Because the system's broken. Watch out for it, guys. All right, take it easy. It's the Cadillac Counselor.